Radha Radhe, today is Saturday, 6th December 2025, and here we are to present to you this recap video for today's Bhagavad Gita study session. Early along our journey of chapter 12, inching along, covered a few verses today and saw responses from Sri Krishna. We'll see a summary of those shortly. Along with me, of course, here is Mummy.
राधे राधे।
As I bring up the slides, you'll see that we covered three verses after our gap due to the US Thanksgiving break. So we started off with our recap quiz on chapter 12, verse 1, and then covered chapter 12, verses 2, 3, and 4. As always, if you take a look at the description for the video, you'll get the usual link to access all this material, free page for all the slides, these recap videos, and other supplementary material. So please do take a look at that description for your benefit. In particular, you'll also get to see the quiz questions that we talked about, and so those are available on the community portal page. With that, we get into first chapter 12, verse 2.
श्रीभगवानुवाच मयि आवेश्य मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेताः ते मे युक्ततमा मताः।
So, chapter 12, verse 2 has the catchphrase with alliteration as fixed with faith. That is because Sri Krishna answers Arjun's question. And let's remind ourselves, remember chapter 12, verse 1, the question was Arjun recognizes that both forms or subsets of yogis, as we've talked about, follow and appreciate God, but through different aspects, through different sentiments. But both are perfect in yoga. His question was, who does Sri Krishna consider to be more perfect in yoga? So now, chapter 12, verse 2, Sri Krishna responds about who he considers as the best yogis, the ones who are more perfect. And they are the ones who fix their minds on Sri Krishna, on the Lord, and always engage in his devotion with steadfast faith. So, fixed with faith, and we'll show you the flyer momentarily as well as a reminder of what we covered in class. The commentary, as you all saw, everyone participated. It's very, very lengthy, lots of deep details here, but a continuation and a summary of what we have already seen much earlier, such as in chapter 7, and of course through Swamiji's and Maharajji's lectures and videos. So the crux is the analogy of the train. You see it from very, very far as it's approaching you. You'll usually see just the light. It's a shimmering light. It's like that divine light, the analogy being for the Brahman, all pervading aspect of God, but unmanifest. As the train gets closer, you can get some sense of, shape, size, form. You can kind of see certain aspects, rectangular, coaches, etc., cuboidal, whatever. And then you get a sense of, okay, some idea, but not completely. So here it's the analogy for Paramatma, which is seated in our heart. We know God is there. Many times we forget, perhaps, but we are aware, and you don't have a complete sense, nevertheless. But God knows God's seated there. Finally, as the train literally stops in front of you, you get to truly see, yes, it is a train. You confirm it. It has these many coaches. There are numbers, labels, people, windows, whatever you have there. And that is the true shape, form, manifestation, the entity, the personal form, the analogy there for the personal form of the Lord, which is Bhagwan. So we've seen these three aspects of God, I think maybe probably in the introduction itself of Swamiji's Holy Bhagavad Gita so long ago, and then certainly, of course, chapter 4, chapter 7. So all that is explained again as a reminder to us in detail here by Swamiji. But the takeaways in addition are God is perfect and complete. So no one should ever think that one aspect is weaker or different than the other aspect. We have Brahman, we have Paramatma, we have Bhagwan. God can take whichever aspect he wants. He has all those energies. Some are latent, some are more manifest or perceivable by us, but it is one supreme entity. So we'll encourage you to go back to all of this, look at the commentary Swamiji provides. He provides examples with hydrogen dioxide molecules as well. So different things that you can help to elucidate upon this. But again, the conclusion is in Swamiji's last paragraph, and as Sri Krishna himself says, he considers the best yogis to be the ones who are truly practicing what this chapter is about. This chapter, remember, is Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Devotion, in this case, we're saying to the personal form of the Lord. So we'll see much more coming up in subsequent verses and even future chapters. For now, I'll take us to the flyer everybody had seen, lady working, doing her office work, etc. But her mind, her thoughts are focused on, as you can see, the personal form of the Lord. There's a lot more time, scriptures, energies, etc. But then the question is, how do you fix yourself to be considered as a best yogi? What aspects we need to improve upon or change? What fixes do we need to make? As a pun, well, we fix our mind on the Lord. And in fact, this thought bubble here, the cloud bubble, if you look at it, it's in the shape of a mind, of a brain. So literally as well and figuratively, fix the mind on the Lord. Next up, let us see chapter 12, verses 3 and 4 together.
ये त्वक्षरम् अनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गम् अचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति माम् एव सर्वभूतहिते रताः.
So, chapter 12, verses 3 and 4, they appear together in Swamiji's Holy Bhagavad Gita. Similar catchphrases with alliteration and the common word absolutely. So, chapter 12, verse 3 has the catchphrase absolutely aimed. That is, we are talking about now that subset, that group of yogis who are aimed towards the Brahman aspect of God. So, towards the absolute truth. So, they are absolutely aimed. And then Sri Krishna gives another response here, which is absolutely attained, the catchphrase for chapter 12, verse 4. Pun or double use of the word absolutely here, because what or who do they attain? They attain the absolute truth. So absolutely attained, but also it is certain. It is guaranteed, as Sri Krishna says, when they follow everything. So they certainly attain the absolute truth, therefore absolutely attained. So, chapter 12, verses 3 and 4 combined, there is shorter commentary here, but also very, very similar and in parallel to what is explained at length in chapter 12, verse 2. Swamiji continues with this train analogy or the three aspects as Ved Vyas has classified Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. So, a good reminder again to connect everything there. And the essence is few things. One is Sri Krishna in his shloka itself, both the shlokas, he actually describes very well the absolute truth, which again we've seen in different fragments before, but here now in one big, set of phrases, the imperishable, the indefinable, the unmanifest, the all-pervading, the unthinkable. We can't really imagine, right? The unchanging, the eternal, and the immovable. So there's so much covered here to also remind us about the strengths and powers of that formless aspect. But then now we talk about the yogis who pursue that route. So they have to restrain their senses. They're even minded everywhere. They're the ones who attain the Brahman aspect. They attain Sri Krishna in this sense as well, because it's the same one supreme entity. But there's one more important piece. As we said in class, look between the commas here, engaged in the welfare of all beings. So that's essential because we're not just talking about, people who are following karm sannyas or gyan yoga and just focused in isolation on themselves, on Brahman, but they also are engaged in the welfare of all beings. As we said in class, just coincidence, blessings from earlier this week, life lessons from the Bhagavad Gita, we were able to cover chapter 5, verses 24 and 25. And in that latter verse, it also talks about being engaged in the welfare of all beings. You share that enlightenment, you share that wealth, you uplift society versus keeping it only to yourself. So again, Swamiji in the commentary says that yes, the best yogis are those who are devoted to the personal form of Sri Krishna. However, he does not reject the worship of the formless. So that is great news for those devotees as well. And we get a reminder of chapter 4, verse 11. Whichever way people surrender unto Sri Krishna, he reciprocates with them accordingly. So, as Mummy had stressed in class, you want to go and eventually have that grace of being able to participate in the Leelas, being with the personal form of the Lord, then be that yogi, that devotee who is devoted to the personal form. If it's purely that yog, that union, that merging we're talking about, Swamiji says here, God meets them as the unmanifest, all pervading Brahman. Each root, each set of yogis eventually gets to that goal, the supreme entity. How that's revealed is very, very different. And of course, Mummy will probably give an example. We talked about, a lady expecting. We'll talk more about that. So, Mummy, it is over to you for Sanskrit words and phrases and then other commentary.
Hmm. Thank you, Gagan. So let's look at the word Nitya Yuktaha from verse 2. Nitya Yuktaha, that means always engaged. Nitya means always, Yuktaha means engaged. So basically, Krishna is saying that fix your mind on me. The mind has to be behind everything, fixed on him, and always be engaged in his devotion. Somewhere at the back of your mind, the way mother who has a small baby, she continues doing all her chores, all her things, but her mind somewhere is always connected with the baby. The moment baby moves in the crib, little bit noise he creates, and the mother knows, oh, I have to go take care of him. This is what Krishna is saying, that do anything but always fix your minds and engage in my devotion. From verse number 3, we will look at the word Aksharam. Aksharam means the imperishable. And of course, it means all other attributes of the Supreme Brahman, that is imperishable, indefinable, unmanifest, all pervading, unchanging, that is the eternal Supreme Brahman. And then from verse number 4, let's have the word Sambuddhaya. Sambuddhaya means even minded. Why this word has come here? It has come for the Advaitavadis, okay, the Karm sannyasis who go in isolation. In isolation, you can be even minded, does not bother you. But the moment you are living in this world, you can get disturbed very easily. So Sri Krishna is saying even those who worship him in the formless aspect, like a divine light, okay, the all pervading Brahman. The other important thing for them to follow is that they have to remain even minded in any situation. That is very important condition. They have to be samabuddhaya, even minded. And also another condition Sri Krishna is putting is that they have to do the welfare of all beings. You can sit alone and keep on doing your sadhana, but not sharing with others what you know, what your capabilities are, what your talent is, then there is no guarantee that Krishna will meet you or you will merge in him. Krishna wants seva, welfare, welfare of the Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha. Sarvabhut means all the living beings and Hite means welfare. Very, very important. So, seva bhav. Seva has a very important condition here. Sri Krishna is saying that you can believe in the all pervading Brahman, but you have to be even minded, sambuddhaya, and you have to be sarva bhuta hite rataha, engaged in the welfare of all beings. So God will meet you in that unmanifest, all pervading Brahman. He reciprocates to you as you surrender to Him. So now there are sweeter ways of surrendering to Him and getting into the loving devotion way of Sri Krishna in the personal form. As we know, there are three forms of God. One is Brahman, one is Paramatma, and one is Bhagavan. Okay, Brahman is that all pervading, Paramatma is that Paramatma. Param means supreme, Atma means soul. We have individual soul, and then there is this supreme soul also sitting inside us, which is noting and counting all our karmas. So, in that sense, we have to be very careful of karma. Of course, we can be aware of, but sometimes thoughts we are not aware of. A little difference in people's behavior, and our thoughts are then ruined. One single thought, because things are not happening your way, and then God is going to note it, and we are going to get the fruit of that karma. So we have to be very, very aware of that Paramatma form also all the time. And then we have to go into loving devotion in the personal form, Bhagavan. When we see him as a deity, automatically, when we hear his stories, when we hear his leelas, Sri Krishna's in the baby form, what he did with Mata Yashoda, how he behaved with the gopis, and what leelas he did, automatically that loving devotion, beautiful emotions, arise in us. And that is how we are full of love, and in love automatically connection with God is much easier through kirtans. So I will give example from here what Swamiji has quoted from the Bhagavatam. Okay, let's start with that. वदन्ति तत्तत्त्वविदस्तत्त्वं यज्ञानम् अद्वयं ब्रह्मेति परमामेति भगवान iti shabdyate. So it says the knowers of the truth have stated that there is only one supreme entity that manifests in three ways in the world: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So these are the three different forms of God. Then Swamiji has given example from Shvetashvatar Upanishad about the Brahman. It says, एको देवः सर्वभूतेषु गूढः सर्वव्यापी सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा. So there is only one supreme entity. He is seated in everything and everyone. This is the all-pervading aspect of Lord, and it is called Brahman. This Brahman is like the divine light, which is Nirgun. Nirgun means without qualities, Nirvishesh, without attributes, and Nirakar, that is without form. And then Bhagavan, the Srimad Bhagavatam states, Krishnam enam evehi tvam atmanam akhilatmanam जगद्धिताय सोऽप्यत्र देवी वा भाति मायया. So now the Supreme Lord, who is the soul of all souls, has descended upon the earth in his personal form as Sri Krishna for the welfare of the world. This is the Bhagwan aspect. So why did God descend? Why did he take avatar? He took avatar for the welfare of the human beings. And that is when he did his leelas. So then, when we listen to all these leelas, all the stories from Bhagavatam, that is how Sri Krishna himself took avatar to create this loving devotion in all the human beings. So he says you can reach him both ways, but he will reciprocate accordingly. So, in the all pervading form, you pray to him, then he meets you in that unmanifest form. You pray to him in the personal form, in loving devotion form, then you get to reach to Golok and participate in his leelas. So we all know in when a lady is expecting, she has beautiful emotions. She is very happy that my baby is coming. But when the baby is in her hand, that time the emotions, the love she has, it is beyond anything. And we all have noticed that when there is a small baby in the house, how we feel, how our emotions are arising with so much love, because that baby is doing all those leelas which we hear in from Bhagavatam stories. So God is saying that bhakti yoga, bhakti, loving devotion in the personal form, is the better or way of being a perfect yogi. And we have to have steadfast faith, shraddhaya. Shraddha always has to be unshakable. Faith has to be there and engage in God's loving devotion in his personal form. Over to you, Gagan.
Yeah, thank you, Mommy. I'm glad you stressed the part about God taking the avatar for the welfare of the world. So, giving us a basis for devotion and therefore, as well, a basis to keep going week after week. So, we look forward to seeing you next week. That is Saturday, 13th December, 2025, 8 a.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. India time. We'll have a recap quiz first, of course, on these three verses covered today. Till then, thank you so much and Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, and before I leave, I want to wish we just Bhagavad Gita Jayanti was last week, and we are still in the celebrations of Bhagavad Gita Jayanti at our Radha Krishna temple. So, loads of blessings to everybody from Sri Krishna. Radhe Radhe.